Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. Hope everyone is doing awesome out there this morning and having a fantastic start to your day. Great ending to your week, beginning to your weekend. Here to bring you the latest information we got for today's weather. We'll extend this a little bit into our weekend also. All in all, today will be a pretty nice day, quiet day for the most part, but we will speak on it. And then after we do that, so we'll talk about, like I said, what's going to happen the rest of the weekend as severe weather risk do increase as we get into tomorrow and then getting into early next week. Maybe dealing with a severe storm risk all through next week, especially the first half of next work week. So we're going to speak on that. I will have you a total eclipse cloud forecast at the end of the video. A timestamp will be there for you folks to just jump right to that. So if you're viewing and just want to really see that, don't blame you. It's a big deal for sure here in a couple days. Definitely just jump to that timestamp, and I'm going to have you a really good detailed look at this. And then we're going to continue to tweak this throughout the weekend as, of course, we're right pretty much at this thing at this point here in the next few days. So we're pretty confident on clouds and basically the weather factors, the systems on what's going to be influencing cloud cover or lack of cloud cover out there. So we'll break it all down. We'll talk about the severe weather risk too, and we'll get pretty detailed on that and what we know. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Let's get rocking and rolling. So middle of the country, quiet. Nice start to your Friday morning. Even the southeast is quiet. We are dealing with some chilly temperatures. We do have some moisture that's affecting the California coastline and just California in general. We got some just moisture spinning around here with this broad area low pressure, this upper trough moving in. But all in all, it's not too crazy. Now, it's going to be quite windy, some strong winds. There's even going to be a fire danger here in the plains. Basically, the entire northern plains region is going to be dealing with a fire danger today. So we'll speak on that and what's driving that. But we still have this broad spin up here in New England, still dealing with rain all the way down to the Ohio Valley. And we do have a lot of moisture up here in New Brunswick in the form of snow and some rain, Nova Scotia too. So that's what's going on right now. Storm Prediction Center, not a heavy topic today, just some general risk of thunderstorms across the northern and central Rockies. The Southwest could deal with some storms too. Some of the big cities, San Fran all the way down to San Diego, could deal with some thunderstorms. Nothing too strong or severe, but definitely don't let that surprise you by any means. Not really expecting anything over the central U.S. and the eastern U.S., but that central U.S., like I said, that will change over the next couple of days. So excessive rainfall outlook, below 5%. Don't have to worry about this today, so no real point staying long on that. And then the watches, warnings, and advisories. Now, we got a lot going on with this because we got a big system moving in. We'll mention the east first. We got the winter weather advisories that are lingering around across New England. Winter storm warnings continue. We'll get another push of snow today in the higher elevations of West Virginia. Of course, we get that one winter weather advisory up in the mountains of western Maryland. Freeze warnings in areas of the Midwest, Ohio Valley. And then this brown color, that is high wind watches. So a lot of strong winds are going to be whipping through this area, including maybe a nasty line of storms across the middle of the country. But you see all the pink colors right in here, this hot pink color? That's red flag warnings. That's where we do have an elevated fire risk today. So please don't burn anything. Don't be dragging any chains. Don't be just doing anything that's going to create a spark. Be very smart out here. So, but we got a lot of wind alerts. The mustard color, that's high wind warnings. Like I said, the brown color here in the front range, that's high wind watches. Winter storm watches here in the teal colors, for the northern plains of Wyoming, Laramie Range, the Bighorn Mountains have winter storm warnings. Big winter storm going to hit you guys, the Black Hills area. Winter weather advisories across and winter storm warnings across the southwestern and western U.S. here in the Cascades. Well, not the Cascades, but really more so the Sierra Nevada in these areas. So that's what's going on. There's a lot going on. A lot that's going to happen over the next few days into this weekend, into early next week. So Tropical Tidbits is down. Typically, I like to show that when it comes to breaking down the geographical segments, as you know. We have to look at Weather Bell with this, which really kind of shrinks the screen for us. But luckily, not a whole lot going on, so it's not a huge deal. But the southeast today, it's going to be quiet. It's going to be a beautiful Friday, a little bit of a chill in the air. Of course, we're still in early April. We're not going to completely shake these cooler evenings and cooler mornings quite yet. We got to get kind of deeper into May for that. But we will have another push, kind of a convective northwest feed into the higher elevations of West Virginia, especially around midday onward. Snow will begin to fall heavily. So if you're heading up here to West Virginia, definitely expect some April snow. But, you get into the lower elevations, just some showers. These showers could produce some graupel, some, maybe some sleet, very possible here. Some showers in the Delmarva region today, also this afternoon. These will drift through Kentucky. And then we could get some snow showers all the way down to the higher elevations of Tennessee and North Carolina later on this afternoon, really this evening, overnight. But then getting into tomorrow morning, another beautiful start. Not a whole lot going on, pretty quiet. But there's that snow for West Virginia, Western Maryland, southwestern PA, two of these, favored hill regions. Man, I had this area memorized as far as the mountain range. I'm getting better. Not quite there, though. But higher elevations of West Virginia, a few more inches today. And it's bugging me. But anyways, a few more inches of snow here in the higher elevations of West Virginia. Northeast, just a lot of kind of wraparound moisture. I mean, the further you get up into like Maine, it'll be just more of just widespread moisture all day, just more of a kind of extended period of moisture will continue to fall. But once you work your way a little bit further southwest throughout New England and the interior Northeast, more sporadic in nature. You'll get some kind of convective snow showers down here in PA and the southern tier of New York. It could put brief dustings of snow. Not a whole lot of cold air for this to work with. So you got to, if you're a little bit higher up in elevation, that definitely favors the Adirondacks. We get some more snow today, several more inches. And then this kind of wanes away and just kind of falls apart. Overnight tonight, still dealing with some snow showers in the southern tier of New York, northern PA. And then more of just consolidated area of snow down here, like near the coastal regions of Maine, the down east areas, will kind of drift around and fly all the way into our Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. And basically, this low will try to get pushed back southwest, bring another soggy day for Boston, southern New England tomorrow. Another chilly rain. And this has just been a system that has really plagued you guys. And it looks like you got another push moving through New Brunswick, about to head right back into Maine for your Sunday morning. So it's going to take the entire weekend to get rid of all this moisture in this area of low pressure. Snowfall just between now and Sunday morning. Several more inches of snow is possible in northern Maine, the Adirondacks, higher elevations of Vermont, New Hampshire, another few inches of snow. And then, of course, this little favorite area right in here south of Buffalo, east of Erie, could get a few inches of wet snow. So South central U.S., pretty quiet weather day today, getting into this afternoon. Beautiful conditions. We'll start to see some moisture enter from your west, as you can tell. Snow begins to fall in Arizona, western Colorado. And then we get all the way to our Saturday morning. We start to get some moisture really entering the picture here in these higher elevated regions of New Mexico and Colorado. But, most of the next 24 hours is pretty calm, pretty chill. It will begin to get very windy in the second half of the next 24 hours. Really starting to get into this afternoon, this evening, into the overnight hours. This is potential wind gusts between now and Saturday morning. We start to gust to 30 to 40, 45 miles per hour across the high plains here in western Texas. The panhandle of Oklahoma, western Kansas, pretty much all of Nebraska, certainly eastern Colorado, all of Colorado, New Mexico. If you're there's going to be areas probably in eastern Colorado that might gust to 40 to 50 miles per hour. And then you take this all the way, a little bit deeper into your Saturday. And, man, these winds, 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts, maybe 70 mile per hour wind gusts in areas in like northeast Colorado for your Saturday afternoon. Winds will be whipping. And there will be a lot of dry air in place, folks. You see this relative humidity. Just think the lower the numbers, especially in the low teens and single digits, the drier the air. So a lot of dry air with these windy conditions. Therefore, big fire danger in this area. It's really already very dry, but it's going to be even drier in this area. So please be mindful of whatever you burn out there. Just don't burn anything. But starting off this morning in the Great Lakes region, upper Midwest, nothing going on today. A nice Friday. Some showers could drift into kind of eastern sections of lower Michigan. But other than that, very nice day. And not to leave my folks hanging a little bit further to the, to the west here in like the Dakotas. Let's back it up a little bit. Let's see. Come on. Here we go. All right. Today, very quiet. Getting into... I knew it was going to do that. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry to jip you guys here. All right, here we go. Midday Friday, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Saturday morning, nothing. But things will begin to change as we get into our Saturday, as moisture begins to get on the increase here in the northern plains. And we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. But the western U.S., we'll kind of zoom through the next 24 hours. Snow flying around here in the Rockies of kind of eastern Oregon, Idaho. And definitely some snow could fly around here in areas of Washington State. And if you notice down here, just kind of rounds of showers, even some thunderstorms kind of grinding down the California coastline. And then we could get just sporadic snow showers across Nevada today into Utah. Some heavier moisture is possible in the western half of Montana later on this afternoon, this evening, in the form of snow and rain, depending on your elevation. But most of this moisture really will begin to push further eastward. But we could get another round of moisture greeting you folks in the Pacific Northwest over the next, probably into tomorrow morning, I would say. And, we're starting to get into tomorrow afternoon. Heavy snow could fly around the western half, especially central areas of like Montana. And you see all these sporadic snows flying around in the Rockies. So we definitely need to watch Montana. And then a pretty heavy snowfall event could get going here across Montana, eastern Wyoming, and then we have to watch areas of South Dakota and western Nebraska also. So, but between now and the next 24 hours, snowfall in the Cascades, not much, several inches, but of course that's not a whole lot for you guys as standards. Some higher totals once you get into eastern Oregon. And you look at rainfall from this. Let's just look at rainfall. A little bit of rain's possible here in western Washington, western Oregon. 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch of rain is very possible in these areas. We move to the southwest, snowfall between now and the next 48 hours. Several inches possible here in the Sierra Nevada. But even in these kind of southwestern mountain ranges of California, outside the main Sierra Nevada, you guys could get several inches of snow too, where there is winter storm warnings. And then snow adding up in the higher elevations of Nevada, Utah, Colorado, and even Arizona. So, but if you look at just flat out precipitation from this, San Diego up to LA, maybe a 1/4 inch of rain. Not a whole lot expected in San Francisco between now and the next 48 hours. But guys, the winds will be whipping in certain areas depending on your elevation. You look at winds between now and the next 48 hours, not as strong in California. Southern Cal will start to get some 30 to 45 mile per hour wind gusts. It's really this kind of the southern and central Rockies where the winds are just be whipping here in the Four Corners regions. Look at these areas in Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. Man, the winds will be crazy. So if you're a trucker driving through this region, please be mindful of these winds that'll be ongoing in this region. Certainly some very strong winds. And then we look at the Rockies. This is snowfall between now and Sunday morning. Of course, the snows will be starting to add up here in areas of Wyoming. Bighorn Mountains could be the breadwinner with this. You guys could get a lot of snow. Laramie Range also. But you continue to move and look at temperatures. These are high temperatures today. Sorry to leave you guys on southern tip of Florida hanging. Definitely thinking low 80s down there, but very, very cold day across the Northeast. Chilly, 50s near the big cities, even some 40s, interior Northeast, 30s and 40s. The mountains, all the Appalachian Mountains, just very chilly conditions. 40s and 50s, colder the higher up you are. Area cold air center over the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes region, just 40s for highs for the most part. Starting to get to the 60s once you get southeast of the Apps, some 70s. A little bit closer to the Gulf coastline. And, of course, you move into the central U.S. Nice day in Texas. Widespread 80s, very dry conditions developing here in the southern plains. And then nice temperatures. It's going to be one of those weird, crazy events where, temperatures are going to rise well into the 70s a day before a snowstorm moves in here in Wyoming. So, I say it all the time. My folks here in the Carolinas always say, if you don't like the weather, we'll just wait a day. It's literally true out here in the plains. It is quite true. It's going to get, somebody might sneak and hit 80 degrees in Montana and then get snow later this weekend. So some wild stuff out here. And then you look at the western U.S. as far as temperatures. there's that pocket of very cold air. Temperatures well below average out here. Not well below, but certainly below average in most areas out here. A chilly day across the western U.S. with low pressure moving in. So if we look at what's to come, we're going to switch gears here. We're going to start off where we left off Saturday morning. You see all this snows and moisture across the Rockies. This will continue to mainly shift into further east as we move in time. And you see this low pressure developing right here. This is when we can go on and move to the central U.S. 987 millibar low here in areas of somewhere in Nebraska, probably western Nebraska, southwest areas of the state. And watch what happens as we start to get into Saturday evening. One thing I want to note is we'll look at the mesoscale model too. You see this area in green right into here? This is some strong to severe thunderstorms blasting through the plains. We'll take a look at the HRRR model here in a second. But if you look right here, a snow side that this begins to develop. Heavy snow begins to fall in areas of Montana, eastern Wyoming. Black Hills region will be favored, western Nebraska. And this could be a quick hitting hefty winter storm, and then this low weakens substantially and then just kind of moves into the north central U.S. But as you start to get into Sunday, a cold front will be progressing through the middle of the country. This will spark some strong to severe storms most likely, but I don't think Sunday will be a big severe weather day. It's once we start to see basically what is going to be like an upper low that gets kind of cut off down here. And this is going to be spinning around. And this is probably going to bring ingredients, it is, for strong to severe storms. So huge kind of upper low right into here. This is bringing in some rich moisture into this region right into here. And this is probably going to have strong to severe storms right where the southern sections of the totality is moving in Sunday afternoon. Not saying there's going to be severe storms during the actual total eclipse that will cruise across eastern Texas, but there could be. So we'll speak on that here in a second as far as those strong to severe storms. But you keep on going, you get into Tuesday morning, you start to see widespread greens down here. This could be in the form of heavy rain, strong to severe storms. There could be I think there's going to be multiple complexes of storms basically Monday through Wednesday of next week in this area right into here. And we keep this going. We get into Wednesday, starting to see those darker greens down here. We get into Wednesday afternoon, and then we got to watch Wednesday because an all-out low pressure fully ejects across Texas into Arkansas. And, this is a little bit far out, but if something like this evolves, this could be more of a substantial severe weather threat for Wednesday of next week. So we just got to watch the evolution of this model. And finally, all this energy ejects into the eastern U.S. and then switch to the 06Z. So let me back this up here or move this forward. All this energy finally shifts kind of into Wednesday, into really Thursday. You see all the energy beginning to shift into the eastern U.S., and then this could bring severe weather Thursday across the Mid-South, Southeast. It could develop into a big rainstorm for the eastern U.S. at the tail end of next work week. So snowfall from the snow side of this between now and Sunday evening, several inches of snow, feet of snow in the Bighorn Mountains. Laramie Range could get snow. Of course, Yellowstone National Park will always get theirs. Rockies of Colorado, several inches of snow. And then you see this little highlight area right here. That's the Black Hills of South Dakota. And then we're getting several inches of snow showing up in the western counties of Nebraska. This could increase. We got to watch. There's going to be a severe weather threat for Saturday. And that is tomorrow. There's a slight risk of severe storms, level 2 out of 5 risk here in areas of Nebraska and Kansas, right into here. Marginal risk extends all the way from, deep down Oklahoma, all the way here into western Nebraska, where it's going to snow here in the next 48 hours. 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. This does include Lincoln down to Wichita and this entire green area. Wind threat, 15% risk of damaging winds. Winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And there will be a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger in this area. So this is certainly an event that we need to watch for tomorrow. Could it uptrend? It absolutely could. What does the radar look like from the HRRR model? Because we are close enough to this event where we can actually see this. And, we start to get into tomorrow around 1 or 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And there's those storms developing. We'll take a closer look at this here in the coming videos. But look how this line of storms basically erupts across central Nebraska, sweeps across. And then you start to see some isolated storms even down here. If you look really closely around Well, I would say this is between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. Even some isolated cells developed down here in Oklahoma. But look at this line of storms where you have better forcing near this surface low that basically develops in maybe central Nebraska, central Kansas, and basically sweeps and pivots across the entire state. This could be a more substantial severe weather event if we had a better moisture feed into this area, but we don't, and I'll show you that here in a second. But we start to get into like tomorrow evening. These storms make it all the way to Kansas City, blast through Lincoln, Omaha, and then they weaken substantially as you get into overnight, tomorrow night, into Sunday morning. And then the snow begins to fall in this region. So, the reason this might not end up being more of a higher end event is because you really have a thin slither of moisture, really, that's, I guess you would say, fueling this line of storms. I mean, dew point's only in the 40s and 50s. Now, I mentioned this in yesterday morning's video. Moisture, dew points behave differently when you're in the plains, you're in higher elevation. Therefore, you don't need, dew points in the 60s and 70s to get severe weather in this area. You can get it definitely with dew points in the 50s, even the 40s sometimes. So, very thin area of favorable thermodynamics, and I wouldn't even say favorable. I would say very marginal. That really drives this event, and then immediately behind it, a cold front dries out the atmosphere and the severe weather threat's done. And a very small slither of storm fuel, CAPE, mixed layer CAPE, because of the response of that little bit of low-level moisture. But, I mean, you only got like anywhere from 300, 500 joules per kilogram mixed layer CAPE. Not a whole lot, a little bit more energy, pushing 1,000 joules per kilogram down here in central Oklahoma. So if any storms can get going in central Oklahoma, even southern Kansas, we got to watch them for sure. So, and then we start to get into our Sunday. There will be a threat of severe weather with a progressing cold front across the Mississippi Valley, stretching from northern Louisiana all the way up to the Midwest. I don't think Sunday's going to be that big of a deal. It's as we are getting into the day of the eclipse, and then the Tuesday and the Wednesday is what we have to worry about. Already the day of the eclipse, which is Monday, we have a 15% risk of severe weather. It's basically a slight risk at day 4. We just know that, like I said, there's a 15% risk of severe weather within 25 miles in a given location. Right here in areas of Texas, southern Oklahoma, northwest Louisiana, and areas of southwest Arkansas. And then we get into day 5. It barely moves. It kind of shrinks a little bit further south. And it's basically for the same area. Day 5, which is Tuesday, April the 9th. Day 2 of severe weather in this area. And then this is new. Day 6, it begins to shift a little bit to the east now as this system ejects finally. So you begin to have a risk of severe weather, more so in Louisiana, Mississippi, and then southern Arkansas, even getting into Alabama. And there is no risk, there is no 15% risk for, day 7. But that could change for sure as this system, we got to watch to see how models come together with an ejecting surface low across the country. We could have an all week long severe weather episode for sure. But this is pretty wild, guys. I mean, this yellow area does not shift much. And really this is because, and we'll discuss this furthermore here in the videos over the weekend, kind of an upper low just kind of gets cut off down here. When they get cut off in the southwest sometimes, they don't move much. So they're moving, but very slowly. So basically, when they don't move much, kind of the main favorable ingredients, kinematics and thermodynamic-wise, kind of just pivots over the same area. In this case, it's going to be this area right here. So we'll start off Monday morning, a lot of moisture down here in Texas. When you have dew points pretty high, a lot of times that can increase cloud cover. Typically, it means there's a very moist air mass in place, especially this time of the year, which means you probably got clouds, rain, and of course, that's why the cloud forecast is not favorable for Texas, and we'll speak on that here in a second. But look at these dew points. You got plenty of surface moisture across southeast Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi even for Monday. Okay, but the main kinematics are right here over, like I said, the south central U.S. And then we start to get into Tuesday, folks. I mean, plenty of surface moisture down here, dew points in the 60s and 70s. A lot of moisture to work with. Very moist environment right here. Just kind of reinforces itself over the same region. And then we start to get into our Wednesday. And as you notice, this begins to shift somewhat to the east. Deeper moisture further east in the Louisiana areas of Mississippi etc. These states right into here. And then all of this begins to shift further into the southeast. There's no point really discussing that yet. We need a little bit more model data. So you combine that with the 500 millibar wind flow, winds way up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And, we got a steady 40, 50 knot mid-level jet that's going to be cruising over this very moist air mass. And we'll just keep it going here. Monday afternoon, still here. We start to get into Tuesday morning, still plenty of flow aloft. Man, this thing is moving slower than molasses. Come on. And then we start to get into Tuesday. Here we go. Tuesday afternoon. Plenty of flow over this region, creating plenty of lift for thunderstorms, plenty of wind energy. And then, of course, as we get into Wednesday morning, you start to see a little bit of a different evolution of this. We start to get into Wednesday afternoon. We get this all-out trough that's beginning to finally eject with probably a developing surface low and a lot of wind flow starting to shift east now. And I really do want to watch Wednesday across the western deep south. I do. So we'll kind of wrap this up with this. Let's give you an eclipse forecast. So we're going to give you the cut and dry information. We're not going to really talk much on what's driving the cloud cover. We kind of know what's driving it down here. We know what's driving it, especially for the southern sections of the U.S. that I do think is going to deal with a lot of cloud cover, and that's basically just a lot of storminess, a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, a lot of lift. It's going to create a lot of storm activity. But let's just give you the cut and dry information. So this is a broad look at the path of totality that goes through, Southwest Texas all the way into New England. So it's in the red right here. The numbers you see on your screen, for example, the 65 in Central Texas, that means that this particular model, which is called the blend of all models, is a model run that blends all model guidance together. It's an excellent thing to look at, really with anything weather-wise. And I think this is a really wise thing to look at, even still this far out. I really do. So, 65, that means 65% of the sky is covered in clouds based off this model run. Okay, so a broad look at this. Let's just go on and dive right into this. South Texas, not looking that great. San Antonio, which is around the fringe of totality, same thing with Austin, 75 to 80% chance. Well, it's a 75 to 80% of the sky being covered in clouds is what this particular model is saying. I want to make sure I word this correctly. And looks the same for this area right in here. We continue to move into North Texas. This includes Tyler, the Dallas-Fort Worth region, down to Waco, and up to Texarkana. It looks like it brightens up a little bit more, saying 65 to a 70% of the sky covered in clouds up here, but it looks like the majority of the sky will most likely be covered in clouds. But this could change. This could tweak a little bit. It starts to get a little bit better once you start to move into Arkansas. Of course, this does include southeast Oklahoma, looking like 50 to 60% of the sky covered in clouds in this area. Not 100% forecast, but we are getting much more confident in this, guys. You start to get into Arkansas, things start to look a little bit better. Little Rock, for example, it's saying about 50% of the sky could be covered in clouds. All right, a little bit better once you start to get into the Ozarks and northern Arkansas and northeast Arkansas, Jonesboro. It looks like it's a lot better maybe in this area. 27% of the sky covered in clouds up here. So, we continue to move and march northeastward. Missouri, not much of Missouri being covered with totality, but southeast Missouri, the Boot Hill, Missouri, southern Illinois, Carbondale and all these areas in southeast Mizzou here, saying maybe 20 to 25, maybe 30% of the sky covered in clouds in these areas. And then we continue to move into Illinois and Indiana, probably an area where a lot of people are going to be viewing this thing, rightfully so. It looks like the cloud forecast is improving. Big city Indianapolis saying 21% of the sky covered in clouds. That's good. Bloomington, a little bit more, but this is going to tweak a little bit. Evansville, 26%. So it looks like the viewing conditions are improving for this area. So I have to watch. But you start to move into Ohio, and this is what it looks like, starting to inch to a little bit more cloud cover. Cleveland, 50% basically saying of the sky covered in clouds. Toledo up to Bowling Green, a little bit better. So it looks like western Ohio is certainly going to be better viewing conditions, maybe than northern and northeast Ohio. And then we start to get into New York. This is when it could start to really improve. Buffalo, 50%, 54 is exactly what it's saying of the sky covered in clouds. Syracuse, kind of the same deal. Once you get to Watertown, the Adirondacks, it starts to look much better. Start to get below 20%. And then we start to get up into like northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, Burlington, 8% of the sky covered in clouds. That's it. And then we go all the way up to Maine, folks. This is an area that this time of the year typically is socked in clouds. I mean, you guys in New England will probably attest to that. But New England might be the best area to view this. It really could. And with a lot of snowpack on the ground for all these late season snows, it could be a really cool event up here in New England. So if you live up here and you're kind of tucked in a little bit closer to the ocean, or man, I would make the trip. I mean, the cloud forecast is looking pretty good up here. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and y'all have a wonderful Friday.